Hey, you're listening to or watching the first episode of Let's Date, a dating podcast dedicated towards better dating, dating advice, dating stories, data-driven dating, Q&As, and more. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Cox.
And I'm Zeta John.
So I'm going to jump right into it. I have a background in marketing, photography, videography, a little bit of everything. So I like to think I have one of the better Tinder profiles out there.
I'm Zeta John. I'm a burlesque performer and a nail artist. I also own a small salon downtown Oklahoma City. I also have a Tinder profile, which is ironically how Chris and I met.
Oh my gosh, that's true.
So Chris and I met at an event where I think the first thing I did was walk up to him and ask him a pretty good question, which was, I hear you shave your pussy. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it turned like bright red. A pretty straight-laced button up. So
You played it off really well. Like, you were calm and collected because I was going for that shock value.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it.
It's
So I didn't
pretty
feel
hard.
validated in my choice to open with such a bold statement
It's
to
hard
you.
to phase me.
I'm happy to know now in this moment that I did. But we didn't really exchange info or anything then. We had later matched on Tinder.
Yeah.
And you invited me to the opening of the parlor,
Yeah.
which I went with you and another friend of ours that shall not be named. Okay.
Until later on.
Yeah, and then we took some great photos together and
Yeah.
we shared some terrible dating stories.
So here's our first plug. Those photos will be on our Instagram /Twitter/Facebook at Let's Date Pod. So follow us. You'll see some awesome parlor photos. Definitely broke some rules taking some of those photos.
Yeah.
So if you are listening to this parlor, Zeta made me do it.
Sponsor us.
Sponsor us. Yeah, so I remember seeing Zeta 5 to 6 years ago. I
Oh
was
my
definitely in
God.
college, so pre-2014. I am a baby, apparently. It
I
was
always forget that I'm older than you.
it was at Becky's Boobs Day Bash, her birthday party.
I love that you have that still.
I have this bag full of memory and like memorabilia, and for some reason I decided that this needed to be there. I'm
That's
hoping that's in shot. Let me just.
Perfect.
But I saw them perform, and this is my first time ever seeing burlesque, or like ever seeing people almost nude in public, and like some of the first times I've been to a bar. So the whole experience was super weird. Not a bad one, but it was very weirded out. So I went to a Catholic school, grade school through high school, and then got a scholarship to another private school. So the word sheltered comes to mind a little bit. And then next thing I know, I'm at the Pump Bar, which is pretty edgy and fun. And there's boobies everywhere. And I just don't know what to do with my hands.
You're welcome. I'm glad that I could be that for you, and I didn't know it until right now.
I feel
And
like
that you saved that story for the last few months that we've known each other and have not.
I feel like in a way
disclosed
you
it.
took my innocence.
Perfect. It's not going to be the first time. There's definitely more where that came from.
Okay, this scares me already.
It should.
So we decided to start a podcast.
We joked around about it after sharing some terrible dating stories. And then one day Chris was like, hey, come down to Vanessa House. Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
And we took our own champagne. Sorry, Zach. And ordered some Mexican food Postmates.
Yep.
And ate cookies. And Chris cracked open his laptop and he had everything figured out. And here we are.
Yeah, so what you didn't know about me is my jokes are actually like hashed out ideas and or plans. So like I had just almost a full document worth of episodes already thought out about.
Yeah. It was like all of our conversations,
but in
like the
text.
cliff notes of all of our conversations. It was almost
Oh,
creepy, but I was
man.
totally on board with it. Do you want to tell us about your first Tinder date? Like why we decided or how we decided to start a podcast or share our stories, because we have some pretty terrible ones.
Yeah, so let's talk about Tinder dates. I feel like that's a good way to kick off episode 1. Just kind of give people a little teaser trailer out there. So my first Tinder date, man, I tried hard, so don't judge me. I had tickets to the Dodgers game the Oklahoma City Dodgers.
Oh.
But they were
to
club
clarify that.
level. So that's all you can eat, all you can drink. And
Oh,
like all you can eat's dope because it's catered. But then like when you're watching the game, it's all you can eat from like the concession stand stuff. But they also serve you at club level. So like you're like, hey, I want a hot dog. They go get you a hot dog or like chicken fingers, Cracker Jacks, which these are all things we got by the way. Shock Top, like full service packet of like whole thing of peanut M&Ms, which isn't that big of a deal, but like at a ballpark that's pretty badass 'cause that's like $4. So like no, like pulled all the stops, right? So I take this girl. It's a lot of fun. And then she proceeds to drink quite a bit because it's free, right? That's kind of what you do
yeah.
in those situations. And then my rep who hooked me up with the tickets comes and hangs out with us, and he's so cool. But she's a little bit drunk at this point, and she says some like weird things. I don't even remember what. It's been so long, but it was enough to make him go like, "Is, is she with you?" You know what I mean? So it's like we leave like at like fourth inning or something because I was like, I'm so over this. I just gotta like. And then ironically, like we met at the pump parking lot so that we could Uber downtown because parking's $20, right? So we're already saving money by Ubering. Uh, we Ubered back to the pump. Surprisingly enough, not really. My friends are already at the pump, but I have to play it like I'm going back to my car and going home so that she'll do the same thing. Uh, which I do, and she leaves. I went into the pump, didn't even go home. I was just sitting in my car and met like several of my friends. One of my friends from out of town, actually. And then, lo and behold, an hour and a half ish later, she comes back to the pump.
Oh no.
And I'm sitting there at the table right at the entrance. So there's
Please
no
tell me
way
you're
you
with
miss
another
me.
girl at this point.
I wasn't, but I was with all my friends. But she proceeds to go, "Oh, hey," gets a drink, sits at our table across from me, and then tells all my friends, "Yeah, we just had a date at the Dodgers, and like I didn't think I was gonna bump into you again today." But like I think at some point during the game, I mentioned that it was my friend's celebration at the pump because like there's no real reason for her to go to Edmond and then come back down to the pump.
Jesus.
Yeah. So she's there, and then she sits there for like another hour, and like I don't talk to her because she really embarrassed me. And she goes, "Well, if no one's gonna talk to me, I guess I'm just gonna go home." I was like, "Okay,
Okay.
bye." So she goes home, but I'm like, man, I really pulled out all the stops, got her like took care of her completely, like we did all the fun right stuff, but I think I was just too ready to go on my first Tinder date that I didn't really do enough background research to know that she was kind of a crazy person.
And that made you want to continue online dating?
I definitely took a hiatus after that.
That was like a little taste.
I was like, wow. And then I reassessed my own method. I was like, maybe I shouldn't ball out so hard at first.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
There's your first piece of dating advice on
Don't ball
on the
out.
show. Don't ball out on the first date. Do you want me to tell my disaster stories?
Probably yes.
Yes. Probably yes. So what kind of prompted this? I haven't dated in a long time. Like 10 years. I know Chris just gave me this look of shock. Yeah, I was with someone for 4 years, and then I've actually been married for the last 6 years. So this whole dating thing is kind of
Wow.
new. I had a few like disaster dates between like right before I met my now ex-husband. And I will definitely get to those disaster dates because they're great. But the
Is
ones
that
that
a
kind
whole
of,
episode?
that may be a whole
Oh
episode.
God.
We will title that episode Coincidences. I mean, the little string of stories that happened to me this year, most recently that I shared with Chris when we met, is kind of what led us to start talking about our bad dating experiences and maybe giving each other and or friends unsolicited dating advice.
Hey, I've helped a lot of people.
That's what we're here for. Ironically, I didn't meet these people that I'm about to talk about online. These are,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I don't know if you knew that little tidbit. Because you've heard these stories, but
Uh-oh.
maybe not all the details.
Sigh.
So I dated someone pretty casually at the beginning of the year. Um, we had a great time. I caught some feelings, which is rule number one. Don't catch feelings. But he was great. He was nice. He was witty. He's funny. He's kind of cocky. I'm into that. A little bit of an asshole. Really into that.
Oh my God.
I don't know why you're surprised.
I'm not. I'm just still disappointed.
But one night he's like, hey, I think we need to talk. I think we need to get on the same page about some stuff. But nothing about it said that this is going to be a bad thing. So he came by, picked me up. We went out. We had a nice time. We drank. We danced. We flirted with old people. Like, we
Okay.
threw popcorn at each other. We had a great time.
Okay.
So we go back to my house, and I'm like, okay, I guess this isn't like a bad thing, right? So then he hits me with, I can't really see you anymore because I've actually been dating somebody else
Oh.
for about a year.
Why?
So,
Why do people waste time like that?
why take me on a really nice date
I
and
just
have a
don't.
great fucking time and then basically hit me with, actually, I've kind of been seeing someone else for the last year or so.
That's a preview of the podcast. So, yeah, we're not just talking about apps. We're talking about real life. We're talking about websites. We're talking about blind dates. Literally, like all forms of dating. It just so happens that online dating is going to be a big bulk of it. Just because that's kind of what trends have turned into. But I think you've got something to tell us. We've got a special guest coming on much later that's got a lot of IRL experience. Miss Grandma Zeta.
Grandma Zeta.
Yeah, so I feel like we're going to dive into kind of like the history of dating almost. Which, don't tell her I said that because she'll think I called her old.
Well, she's almost 90.
That's young.
But yes, we will have Grandma Zita on the show to talk about dating, the history of dating, I guess.
I think that's a good
Back
title.
in the day, someone once tried to trade my grandfather a herd of goats for Grandma Zita.
Oh, yeah? How many goats is a herd?
Apparently, it wasn't enough
Oh,
because he kept
wow.
Grandma Zita.
Wow. She's worth her weight in goats.
Wow.